Hello and welcome to another special edition of F.Y.I Live Lunch and Learn. I am excited about today's show. I have a very special guest. I have Ana Robles with her from the Yo Soy Amazing. I am so looking forward to talking with Ana, and we want to welcome her to the show. So welcome, Ana.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you for having me here. I'm super excited to be here with you. I know we've talked about this for a while and finally made it.
Yeah, all right. This is great. This is our series for Lunch and Learn, and today one of the key topics that Ana is going to be touching on a little bit later is going to be about the success mindset, right? How do we get to that mindset, and how to take it from where we are or where we need to be and put it into practice today. But before we get going, I want to make sure, folks, thank you for joining us today. I want to make sure that if you're not following Ana, the website is below. Follow her at yosoyamazing.com. She's all over social media. She's very active in all platforms. So make sure that you connect with her. Go to her website. You have any questions, this is the person to talk to when it comes to changing mindsets as well. So again, welcome, Ana. Thanks for doing our show. Let's start off by letting folks know a little bit about your background. Tell us who you are, where you came from, and what you do.
Thank you. Yes. So I am a designer of success. So I am basically a life coach, business coach. And how that came about, I recall vividly when I was a sophomore in high school wanting to be a psychologist. At the same time, I had a passion for numbers and I was taking an accounting class and being a peer counselor. Well, needless to say, life takes different directions, and I ended up following the path of business and going to school for accounting. And I realized it wasn't really my passion. However, during that time period, I was actually working for a well-known restaurant franchise. And through there, I worked my way up the ladder to the point that I was the training director for about 15 years. However, that little voice in your head that consistently tells you you're not in the right path, or maybe this isn't the right thing for you, or is protecting you, sometimes from following your dreams or, whatever have you, that voice started talking to me and saying that you're not in the right place. So, funny how life happens, things started to change. And the person I was working for, because I was working for a franchise, decided to retire. And I ended up working, he separated his company because I had 18 restaurants that I was supervising, managing. And
Wow.
my job was to teach people how to come in at the bottom level and get them to become restaurant managers. I was teaching them P&Ls. I was teaching them, projecting their labor and all sorts of things. So he comes and tells me that I'm gonna be working for two of the kids because he was splitting the company into three. Well, after a little while, that voice kept getting louder and louder. But at the same time, the owner, those two people that I was working for, they came up and said, we no longer could afford your salary. So at that moment, it was like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? I'm used to having a certain lifestyle. But it would allow me to take a step back and figure out what I wanted to do. So it was my first time becoming an entrepreneur. And I decided to do multi-level marketing. I realized that wasn't for me. And it's right for some people and it's not right for other people. I went back to corporate America and started working for another company. It's a women's accessory company. It's also a well-known company. And I kind of started working my way up the ladder. Started there with customer service, and to the point that I was given my own department. And I was given actually a skeleton department because it was a department that was needed, but it wasn't functioning properly. So they came and they said, Ana, we have a project for you. So I took it, like I always do. And I ended up turning that department into a mini version of the large company. Till this day, I know it's running the same way. However, that voice in my head started spinning again. And things happened, and I ended up leaving that department because I wanted something different because of that voice in my head that kept saying, this is not where you're supposed to be. So something was telling me that I really needed to follow my goals and my dreams. 3 years ago, I ended up leaving that company and I started exploring to being an entrepreneur. And through that, I actually heard the word networking, and I didn't know what networking was. So, because I didn't need to, I didn't have it. So I started to do research on it, came across a a person who has now become a good friend of mine, who is a mentor. And I learned from her about networking, but she also taught me about success mindset. And I allowed my mind to grow. I took in all the learnings that she's had to offer, and it's completely changed my life. And
Wow.
and I allowed to listen to that voice, and that took me to the path of what it's a combination of the psychology that I've always liked. It's a combination of being in business, the numbers part that I've always enjoyed. And here I am now. I am a designer of success, where I work in your life and I get to work in your business and help you grow and become the best version of yourself. So that's in a nutshell
Wow.
kind of where I started.
Geez, I'm still stuck on the fact that you're recovering 18 places, man, at once. It's like that's mind blowing. But
Yeah,
it also shows a lot about your enthusiasm and your drive too. Because not a lot of people can handle it. I mean, there's folks who we come across every day who are just struggling with what they currently have, right, or managing in their everyday life. But I think it's I'm glad you really share that, because it really puts things in perspective.
thank you. I contribute that to my dad had a very strong work ethic. Me, it's just following, like, I never looked at it any different. I was like, oh, this is my job. And I always strive. And one of the things that I talk about in mindset is how high is your bar? So I've always, from when I recall, I always put the bar this high, and I just kept going and kept going. And that's actually one of the things that I got to do when I was working for the restaurant chain. I would I would get people coming into my classes. I would start them off at the first level of management. And once they became salary managers, I actually had to train them to get to Hamburger University. So that kind of gives you a hint of who I work for. And in order to get to Hamburger University at that time, you needed to take 5 different courses or 5 different levels. And you needed to take an entrance exam and pass it with a 70% or better. You then needed to go to the class and pass that class with a 70% or better. What was unique about it is that you had the opportunity of making the dean's list in each class. And in order to make the dean's list, you needed to be at 90% of that class. So when my students would come in, I would tell them, interesting, I had this training room. And I'm dating myself here. In that training room, it was before laptops. It was before like this fancy, Zoom and projectors. It was actually, I had 2 TV monitors at the top in each corner of the room, so that my students could look at the TV monitors and I could show them videos. And I had a projector, the one that you actually had to put the slides in and switch them as.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm kind of dating myself.
No, you're not dating yourself. You're actually dating me way back when, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so unreal. I could share other stories, but then I'll be way carbon dating myself for sure.
So I had this classroom, and they would come into the classroom right at the very first day of their journey to becoming the salary management, so that they could eventually get their own restaurant. And I would tell them, can you guys look at the top of that TV monitor? I'm not looking. Don't look at the VCR. Look at the top of the TV monitor. That's how high my expectations of you are. So I kept pushing and pushing them to move forward in that direction. And the best thing that would ever happen to me is when they would come back from Chicago, or they would come back from the corporate headquarters and say, we made Dean's List. Thank you for pushing us this hard. We made
Wow.
it. That was, to me, I feel that that's something that's just sort of come to me because of seeing how hard my dad worked, that it was just natural for me. And then I just kind of like just share that and push people that far.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So tell me how you got started. Now that you moved on, you did a lot of corporate stuff. You've experienced a lot of ups and downs with that, and then there was a birth of the entrepreneur mindset for you. So walk us a little bit through that process. Like, what got you so motivated, and also beginning your business? You're so amazing. Tell us about that and how the name came.
I thank you. So definitely would love to share that. So as I mentioned earlier, I actually left the corporate world 3 years ago, and I had I actually also mentioned that I had left the department where I was working at, and that I ended up leaving the company. Well, one of the reasons I left the company is because I didn't do my due diligence. But again, things happen for a reason, and I'm so glad
Yeah.
it happened. So it's not, I'm not looking at it in a negative way. I was
Yeah.
offered another position in the company, and I didn't do my due diligence. And by that I mean I didn't do the research necessary to move on to that into that department. Needless to say, I ended up in a very toxic environment that was making me very sick. So I had the choice to either stay there and have a paycheck so I could cover my mortgage expenses, or I needed to leave. Luckily, I had friends that were looking at me, and they were like, "There's something wrong. You're not being yourself," and they pushed me to go and get help. Once I got that help, and it didn't take very long. It took only like a couple of weeks, and I realized I started listening to that voice in my head, and through those friends, I came across of becoming a credit repair specialist, and had a company. I was with my friend, and she has started a company 15 years ago. I partnered up with her, realized that that was in my dream, and through the networking and learning about attending an event, and I will say the Laverne Chamber of Commerce had an event January 3rd of 2018. I will forever remember this date. I attended this event because they were going to have a speaker talk about networking skills. I went to the event not knowing what to do. I didn't know about a commercial, nothing. I I was really literally that fly on the wall. I sat in the back of the room, trying to absorb everything. The speaker, who is now my friend, started sharing her story, and I started like, oh my God, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. I want to know more. So after the event, I went and I talked to her, and she was offering an event, the Success Boot Camp. So of course I signed up for it. And from there on, I mean, I just started learning, and I not necessarily just learning, I just started allowing myself to come out of the shell that I have put myself in. And after taking almost every course available in regarding mindset, because I am an NLP master practitioner, and that's something that I learned through my mentor. I realized
Tell
that
us, tell us for folks that don't know what that is. What is an NLP? What is NLP?
NLP is neuro linguistic programming. It's really the study of learning to be your most excellent self, and really tapping into into you and being the best version you could possibly be. And once I had those tools, and I was able to apply them not just on myself, but I was able to use them with other people. And an NLP, or neuro linguistic programming, is not something that you do to people, it's something that you do with people. It's mostly about communicating styles. And when I realized that it was making a change in other people, I started to again listen to that voice, and it just started taking me into this new direction. And so you asked me earlier, how did I come up with the name Yo Soy Amazing? Well, I am Mexican. I was actually born in Mexico. I've been in this country since I was 9 years old, so I feel more Americanized. I still have my Mexican roots. I'm very proud of that. But I lived here for almost all of my life. And I realized that also our unconscious mind doesn't necessarily think in different languages. And one of my favorite words is always to say amazing. I don't know where it came from, but it's just one of my favorite words. But I also realized that the two most powerful words that a human being can say to themselves is I am, and then followed by something positive, and that's going to enhance you. It's going to bring out the best in you. It's going to allow you to be the excellent version of yourself. So I thought about, well, mixing my Latina Mexican roots with my American life, And so yo soy, I am amazing. So anytime you get to say the name of my company, whether you understand it or not, you're actually telling yourself how amazing you are as a person. And that's how I came up with the name Yo soy amazing.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Your word amazing is a lot like what I use. I use awesome for just about everything. It's just one of those words that kind of just sticks with you. And
Uh-huh.
I'm really glad I got to know how you came up with your company name. I'm always fascinated how folks come up with their names, and there's always like tattoos, right? I'm always fascinated with people with tattoos because there's always a history or a story behind what they're projecting, and especially in business, whether it's a logo or whether it's a company name that's very catchy like yours is, but to really come and find out the purpose behind it, it's even that much more powerful and impactful. So that's awesome. See, there you go
Thank
again.
you.
Awesome.
And I will always say amazing.
There we go. So, folks, thanks for joining us today. We are talking with Ana Robles from Yo Soy Amazing, and she has taken this path where she's shared with us a lot of her background. I think that she's been through in the corporate world, and also she just explained to us how her company name Yo Soy Amazing came about, which is really incredible. I think a lot of folks are going to be even more impacted by the fact that you're touching lives, you're really changing lives. That's the bottom line. But not only personal lives, and I think in the business world is where I've seen you really extend that reach and really help out a lot of folks. So let's talk a little bit about the success mindset, right? There's a lot of folks in business, folks that are, even right now with COVID, who are either lost jobs, lost businesses. They're trying to reinvent themselves. And it's tough, right? Especially if you had a business for such a long time and now all of a sudden you have to close your doors because, restrictions or whatever it is that's going on. But I've always learned too that, it's that old cliche that when the going gets tough, the tough get going, and what doesn't kill you makes you that stronger, right? And I think that really applies to what I wanted to talk to you about, which is how do we change and how do we become in that success mindset? How do we get there, or whatever, maybe a couple of steps that can help us move forward with that?
Well, a couple of things is one, having the desire to not be stagnant. And by that, I mean, we want to have that desire like of wanting to grow and tapping into our inner self, our inner voice, and what is it that we want to impact. And you're absolutely right. Right now, this pandemic, a lot of people are going backwards and saying, well, I'll wait till this is over, or I'll wait till like whatever happens next. But if we go back in history, think back, the Great Depression. It was a climate where there was a lot of financial distress because some people allowed it. But at the same time, it was a time period where a lot of millionaires emerged. And that's because those people have a belief that they had a service, a product that other people were searching for. And each of us has that. So we either have a choice, we choose to stay in excuses and no, I can't do this right now. I rather network in person, or no. Or take this, say, you know what? I'm gonna take one of my favorite phrases that one of my nieces will tell you I used to say a lot is take the bull by the horns. And you just go with it. Take action and take little steps. So the biggest thing that I'm gonna say to you is whenever you are feeling stuck in the no negative, it's okay. Allow yourself 5-15 minutes, but right then and then, it's like snap out of it. What do you need to do to snap out of it? Say the ABC backwards, count to 10 backwards, or say the timetables. It's going to kind of make reframe your mind instantaneously, and now focus on the positive. What can I do? And start asking yourself those questions. What can I do? How can I change? How can I improve? And you would be surprised to what answers pop up in your head so that you can start following them. But it takes time. It's not always easy, but you need to allow yourself that. It's about having that growth mindset and allowing yourself to be uncomfortable, to be comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Gotcha. And I like that. the other piece of this is that, we as business owners too, there's always that fear of the unknown, right? Especially if you're trying something new. And I think folks get stuck in that and they don't know, they don't have a way out, For me, I've been fortunate, there's a lot of things that I relate to you too when I first started networking, right? It was that fear of where, oh, what am I going to say? I've never really, other than talking one-on-one, never really talked in front of groups. How am I going to get my services out there? How am I going to speak to folks about who I am? And I started joining different groups in different places. I actually became the president of a chapter for a networking group. And one of the things that over the years that I learned is, I believe it or not, I'm actually very shy, right? So I was that quiet wallflower that, hey, don't talk to me, I'm cool, whatever on there. But I remember that and you would get to see I love joking around a lot. So I'm a goofball, right? I love having fun, just joking, having a good time. But I wouldn't ever let you see that side of me unless I really got to know you. There was always this wall. And I think that happens with a lot of folks. And I remember a very close friend of mine just said, why don't you run our meetings like you normally, like how you are, your authentic self outside of, a business meeting or whatever. And I thought, oh man, no way, man. People are going to judge me. It's like, what the heck is this guy doing up there or whatever? You kind of start going in your head and that messes with you. Like you're saying, that little voice in your head, it's like, can totally mess up your game, right? So long story short, I just said, you know what? All right, it is what it is. You're either going to like me or you're going to hate me, but I'm just going to be myself. And I have to tell you, once I did that, it was like this breakthrough, never look back. Now it's just like, throw me in a room with whoever it is. It doesn't matter. We're going to have a great conversation. We're going to have a great time. But it takes practice, like you said. There's a lot of groups out there. There's a lot of networking places where you can start kind of easing into it. You're never going to be put on the spot. For me, what's really helped out is really surrounding myself with positive folks, positive people like you. I've learned a lot from that. Even just the energy or the vibe, right? Of the words and the things that you're sharing. I think people really need to realize that there's plenty of resources. There's plenty of folks out there who are willing to lend a hand. And it's never by a second intention. For me, it's important that whoever I talk to, whoever's in these business circles, friend circles, and all of that, I know that they are there because they're authentic. They don't have a hidden agenda,
Mm-hmm.
In your line of work with businesses. And I've seen this firsthand is you're always willing to be that servant leader, really wanting to help folks get to their better self, right? Like their 2.0. And I'm the same way when it comes to my environment too. In technology, it's, a lot of people think it's really scary, this and that, but it's not. It comes down to who you're connecting with, who you're talking to, that'll take some of these fears away. So I know that time flies when we're having fun, but I want to make sure that also folks know you have an event coming up, and I want you to talk about the event you have coming up and how folks can join you as well too to learn more about you.
Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for sharing a little bit more about you, because I used to consider myself, and I still kind of consider myself being a shy person, but I have learned that people want to connect with the real you. And when you allow other people to see who you truly are, you just become a magnet for positivity and for amazing people. But when you truly want to come across, is come with a heart of being a servant leader, or how can I improve your life? I'm not here to sell you. I'm here to help you. And everything else just kind of falls into. And thank you for allowing me to share a little bit about my event. I am hosting my second event, my Success Bootcamp. I had done one in person back in February. And because obviously we're not going back into in person for a while, I am going to be hosting a live event via Zoom, August 22nd. It's at 10 o'clock in the morning. It is 3 hours. My mentor will be there alongside with me. She's actually grooming me to be like her, which I'm really excited. But we're going to talk about different tools for your mindset. And as I was sharing something I shared with you yesterday at that event, this has become a very personal, more personal than ever. My intention to have this event is to help folks, to help people all across, just be more positive, believe in themselves, be able to scale their business, be able to scale their personal life. I mentioned earlier I had gone into business with a good friend. This good friend unfortunately caught COVID a couple months ago, and this friend ended up in the ICU unit for more than, I think it's about 10 days. And she attended all the Success Bootcamp with me. She got all the same tools that I have. And when she came out, she's doing great. I'm excited for her. When she came out, on the first conversation that we had on the phone is she told me, if it wasn't for the tools that we received through the Success Bootcamp, I'm not sure if I would be here right now, because I was sedated in the ICU unit, and I could hear at times the doctors coming in and saying that I wasn't going to make it. But I told myself, I'm not going to allow someone else to determine my fate and my future. I have tools. And she goes, I deployed every single tool that I had from the time that we started doing the Success Bootcamp till now, and here I am. So I just want to share this bootcamp. It is $67. You could go to my website. You could click on event and sign up there. August 22nd. I want people to have the same tools, especially right now. I want them to survive this. I'm so happy that she's here with us, and I'm so happy that I'm going to be able to see her soon. You know, we're trying to maintain our distance just to make sure that everybody's okay. But I'm glad that she's here with us, and she attributes it to prayers, but she also attributes it to the mindset and the tools that she has had.
That's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. I'm actually going to put a challenge out there for you guys. If you're a business owner, you guys are stuck with that, make sure that you go to the website, yosoamazing.com, click on the events, and sign up for this great event on August 22nd. I'm actually going to be doing that and signing up because I really want to learn a lot more. Hey, right? It doesn't matter where we are in life. There's always room to grow. There's always room to learn, especially with great folks like you. So I appreciate you sharing that with everyone. I know we're coming to the end of our show, and I want to leave, with any parting words that you may have for our folks.
A phrase that I just realized that impacted so many people just recently. I didn't mean it to be that way, but when you say yes to yourself, or when you say no to others, you actually get to say yes to yourself. So think about that. It's okay to say no to things that don't serve you, because you're saying yes to yourself, and you get to be the best version of yourself. And always remember how amazing you are.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ana, for joining us today. This has been another great Lunch and Learn, folks. Please make sure that you share out the video. Really sign up and follow Ana as well at yosoamazing.com. Look at her events coming up as well. Another great show. This is Carlos Garcia with F.Y.I. Live. Ana, stick around. We'll be right back.